Hey there. Happy Monday, guys. Man, it's Manufacturing Monday Motivation. What an amazing, incredible, wonderful day. We're halfway through October. Damon, my brother, how was your weekend, dude?
It was a sports weekend for sure. You know, the Mariners, 18 innings.
18 innings.
That was a marathon game. You know, it was a long shot. Houston's a great team.
Right.
It's really was exciting to be there, and I think next year we got a good chance of being back again. So that was good. And then watching the Seahawks win yesterday. It was a good weekend for sports.
Good sports weekend for our friend in Seattle. So hey, that's awesome. So I am just thrilled, honored. What a privilege it is to have our guest today. So Ashleigh Walters, happy Monday. How are you?
Great. Happy Monday. I'm excited to be here. Damon, we didn't have such success in the sports world this weekend. Auburn did not beat Ole Miss, but the Bills did beat the Chiefs.
So I didn't, and I wasn't sure if I didn't know if you were going the Pittsburgh route. I didn't know if you were a Steelers fan, Bills fan. So yeah, big one for the Bills. I was watching the Auburn. As a matter of fact, I had relatives in town and their daughter is at Auburn. So we were rooting on Auburn, and I knew we were coming on with you Monday. So they played tough though. They played tough. And Alabama lost, so anyway, we won't go there.
I didn't realize until like yesterday. I was looking, they broke the goalpost down at Tennessee and stuff. That's nuts.
Pandemonium.
They didn't just break it down, they put it in the river.
They're going crazy, guys. So hey, happy Monday. And I mean, we have a ton to cover. So let's, so again, for all the sports fans, October's best month of the year. It's absolutely awesome. But it's manufacturing month. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So, hey, if you're out there, drop a note, give us a hello. Let us know that you're out there. Absolutely, definitely. You want to connect, do yourself a huge favor. Connect with Ashleigh. She is just a dynamo. We've got Whitney here. Whitney, good morning, coming to us from Houston. Hey, we got Sarah. Sarah's a big Bills fan. So, hey, Sarah, happy Monday to you. We've got Diane coming from Philly. Hey, man, the Eagles are like, 6-0 right now. So they're killing it. So, okay, let's dig in. So, Leading with Grit and Grace, I may say one of the best book titles I've ever heard. So, guys, if you're not familiar with Ashleigh, absolutely connect with Ashleigh here on LinkedIn. She has this dynamite book. We're going to talk about this book. She is the president of Onex, a great manufacturer in Erie, Pennsylvania, and you have an incredible, wonderful success story. You're just sharing with us that you're just having a monster year this year, Ashleigh. So, as we dig into this, if I understand correctly, chemical engineer that goes to Auburn, great woman in manufacturing. My first question for you of the day, Ashleigh Walters, as you were a young girl growing up, who was your hero? Who was your hero growing up that just sparked this incredibly inspirational person that you are?
Yeah, so I mean, I think always my parents were definitely huge portions of my life, right? And heroes. And my dad worked in manufacturing. I always say that we're a multi-generational manufacturing family. One of the coolest stories that I found out, and it was when my grandmother had passed away, unfortunately, but I didn't know she worked in a textile mill making socks during the war.
Nice.
Yeah. And so she was in this job, real quick offside story here. She was in this job, and my grandfather was coming back from the war, and the boss at the job told her that she couldn't leave to go see my grandfather. So she told him she quit. She was like, I am definitely going,
Yeah.
I can't believe
awesome.
that time period, like everybody supporting the war effort and everything. Yeah. So even my grandmother worked in manufacturing. And so we just have like a long lineage.
Awesome. Very cool. And mom and dad, what are your parents' names?
So Bill and Libby.
Bill and Libby. So, okay. So we can attribute this great success story to Bill and Libby. So Damon and I we are girl dads. And so Ashleigh, we find you such an inspiration. We're going to give a shout out to Bill and Libby. So if they're out there, if they catch us on a replay, we're sending lots of love and support to mom and dad. So let's just dig right in. So you have a book, and we're going to take a deep dive into the book, but I want to go back in time. Okay. So let's share with everybody, you're an Auburn Tiger, and you go to Auburn, of all things, to be a chemical engineer. Do I have that correct?
Yes. So
what inspired, was it from Grandma and Bill and Libby? What inspired you at 18 years old that this young Ashleigh Walters is going to go into chemical engineering?
So this story is going to be all about Libby.
Nice.
So I was really good at math and science. And, you know, I was in high school and I thought, okay, what do you do when you're really good with math and science? And so one of the things was to be a teacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to be a teacher. And my mom said, no, you're not. And I said, well, you've already said that we need more good teachers. And she goes, and we do, but you wouldn't be a good one. Tough love, right?
Living
yeah.
like it is, man, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
So I talk all the time about experience and exposure. I mean, I didn't have anybody in my life that I knew that was an engineer. So I didn't know engineers existed.
Right.
Yeah.
And so kudos to my mom for figuring out engineers did exist and exposing me to them.
Yeah.
And then we actually went to the plant. Dad's plant was a pulp and paper mill in Tennessee, and North Carolina State University had a chemical engineering program that had a focus on pulp and paper, and they came to present. And so they were offering scholarships to anybody who would, join that program. So ultimately, I wasn't accepted for the final round of the NC State scholarship for the academic piece, and we just couldn't afford for me to go out of state, except Auburn had an academic common market. And so if the degree wasn't offered in your state, you could go as an in-state student to Auburn. So I went to Auburn University as a chemical engineer with a pulp and paper focus. And that's how I ended up there. But I must say, I'm also a small town girl. And Auburn is a small town. Now, it's gotten a lot bigger since I was there, but it's still got that small town feel.
Great.
And so I definitely just felt at home.
Great college town.
Where were you at in Tennessee?
So I grew up just south of Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Okay. Well, hey, all right. We're just getting started. If you're just chiming in. So again, hey, Diane reminded me, boy, the Phillies did great too. So she had a really good weekend.
Yeah.
We've got Heidi Marshall. We've got Heidi here. Good afternoon, Heidi. We've got Karen in the house here. So Karen, thank you for joining us today. Give a shout out to Ashleigh. We've got my dear friend Val is here today. And how about this one, Ashleigh? How about this guy?
Hey,
this guy's flexing already. I can just feel it right through the computer. So, hey, go. He's a big Buckeye fan. So go Buckeyes, Eddie. And so, all right, Ashleigh, let's take a deep dive here. You go into college, chemical engineering. So obviously you're going to be in producing, manufacturing. You're going to go that direction. What led you to, like, it looks like you've been president for 19 years, or you've been involved in Onex for 19 years. Let's hear that story on how you transitioned to Onex.
Yeah. So when I got out of school from Auburn University, 9/11 had just happened. So now I'm dating myself. So we had an awesome job market, and then we had no job market, right? No job market. So I had interned in pulp and paper. It was totally meant to go into pulp and paper, but International Paper was in a hiring freeze at the time. They did open the hiring freeze and offer me a position. However, nuclear power was also hiring at that time, right? So they'd spent 20 years not hiring since they built the plants, and then they were like, "Oh crap, everybody's going to retire."
Yeah.
We got young ones.
Yeah.
So I ended up in nuclear power at Plant Vogtle for Southern Company, Southern Nuclear, and I was there for just about a year, and then kind of a tragedy happened at Onex. Our pulp and paper technical salesperson passed away unexpectedly. And so I then interviewed and was hired for the job. So I started at Onex in technical sales, and I was helping my husband run the Southeastern operation. And then, life goes on. We have baby number one. Baby number one comes 6 weeks early. He was supposed to be a Christmas baby, and he made it before Thanksgiving.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. He was eager.
He was eager. I tell him he's a big kid now, thriving. But I tell him, I was like, you were all about getting turkey. I mean,
he's all about the turkey. That's right.
Yeah.
Football and turkey.
Yeah. So, he being 6 weeks early, his lungs were underdeveloped. He stayed in the NICU for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And it's flu season, so he just couldn't be out and around anybody.
Yeah.
So we went from what I thought was going to be a stay-at-home, or what I thought was going to be a working mom, to a stay-at-home mom, literally overnight. And so life just changes, right? And baby number two came along, and then my father-in-law called one day in 2013 and said, "Hey, I just generally need you to run the company. The CFO has left. I need you to look at the financials." He passed it off as like a complete part-time job. It was not a part-time job. And I was also living in Charlotte, North Carolina with this 2-year-old and 3-year-old, and we were running that operation. And So eventually 2014 came along and we moved, closer to the Erie facility. We moved to Pittsburgh first and then on to Erie. But I guess kind of from there, the history's in the book.
The history's in the book. Absolutely. And so guys, and you need to buy the book, Leading with Grit and Grace. And so okay. So kind of like you're the Damon, we talk about the accidental entrepreneur. We're hearing like the accidental president of a company, right? So and we've got a couple more hellos here today. We've got James. Thank you, dude. I love having you around. Happy Monday to you. We've got Lori in the house. Lori, happy Monday from NWIRC. You know Lori, of course, and the wonderful folks at Northwest IRC. So Molly and Bob and Michael, the whole crew at NWIRC. Love you guys. So Ashleigh, share a little bit of like, what were those early stages? Like, how did you evolve from like, hey, Ashleigh, I need help part-time to like, you're thrown in like, literally thrown into the deep end with no little floaties on the arms, right? Like, talk about like, what was that process? What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, it was really hard, Kurt. I was really thrown into the deep end. We didn't realize how bad it was financially for the company at that moment in time when he asked me to take over, but we figured it out really, really quickly. Yeah. And so we just had to do a lot to stabilize the company and make sure we could survive, right? So putting in a new accounting system was what I was working on behind the scenes as my stay-at-home mom job. And so that was the very first thing we did. We got that new accounting system installed, and then we could see like where the dollars were going, where we could make those biggest impacts. And one of them was just even in the overhead of the building that we were in. We were spending an ungodly amount on heating a building that's 150,000 square foot warehouse because it had a wet sprinkler system in it. You have things you just don't even think about, or the lighting bill, right? Those old, what are they, metallic lights or whatever, not LEDs, and just crazy places. So we just started making changes like that, finding that low hanging fruit. And the more changes we made, the better it got, right? And it's kind of fun to make things better. So the better we got, the more people kind of got the bug to make the changes.
Yeah.
We just kept growing. It just kind of a flywheel effect almost.
That's perfect. And so, hey, we've got a couple folks saying that, Jamin, we've been having some LinkedIn challenges. And so
I rolled over there to see if it was live. It's live there. I just don't know how.
Okay. So anybody out there, if you go to b2btail.com, my website. So if you go to b2btail.com, my social buttons are at the bottom. If you click on YouTube, you will catch this live. And you guys, I know a bunch of you are Twitter junkies. We are live on Twitter as well. So feel free, go to b2btail.com and you can go to our Twitter page, go to YouTube. And if you're having challenges on LinkedIn, hopefully we're smooth sailing with Ashleigh here over on those platforms. So Ashleigh, let's continue moving forward. So, okay, so you're starting with accounting. And now again, I just want to remind everybody, if you're just coming in, Ashleigh is a chemical engineer by trade. It's not like you were a turnaround specialist. It's not like you've been, you're so young and, not having a wealth of experience on turnaround a company. Is like, talk about when you're going through the accounting and the finance, being an engineer, like, how did you know what to look for? How did you know to dig into these things of, hey, these are challenges, this isn't right. And maybe you ran into some like, hey, this is how we've always done it. How did you break some of those down?
Yeah. So definitely in manufacturing, we're famous for, this is how we've always done it. Right?
Yeah.
So I think it was probably okay that I didn't know how it had always been done. Right. I had to figure it out. And so here's Bill's biggest piece of advice. So Dad said to me, School of Hard Knocks again, I get my engineering degree. And Dad says, well, that's great, but you don't know much. And I thought, wow, 4 years of engineering school, I feel like I know a little bit more than I did 4 years previously. But what he said was, go to the place where the work is being done and ask the people doing the work. They already have the solution to the problem you're trying to solve. And so I'm not really as smart as one would think I am. I just went and asked curious questions. And people did. They told me. They already knew what the problems were.
Yeah, right.
They just needed somebody that was going to back them up and help solve them.
Yeah.
So we ferreted out those problems. I would ask, what takes up most of your time or what frustrates you? Paul Akers has a book out there that says what bugs you, right? So any version of that question you want to ask it, and people will tell you. And then your responsibility is to help them try to fix it. And there are cases where you can't fix it, right? So we do some parts for aerospace. I can't change the way that we do it,
right?
No matter if it would make it better or not, right? But you say, thank you for that idea. We can't change it because keep thinking, right?
Right.
But when you can change it, you get them the resources that they need to allow them to make those changes wherever possible, giving them the autonomy to make it, because it was their and it's fun to accomplish goals by yourself, right?
Right.
So they weren't looking. That's one of the biggest things I learned early on in my leadership. One of my ops manager came to me one day and she said, sometimes we just want to tell you about the problem. We don't actually want you personally to fix it. We want to fix it. We just want to tell you about it. We just want to talk through with you. Right. We just want somebody to hear us. And so I thought that was another really cool.
It is. And that's one of the things I think is cool to hear and how you learned it, because we all want to fix it right away, but we do need to let other people fix it. And sometimes it is just listening to confirm or whatever they want to hear. But that's incredible. So when you started doing this, I mean, did you see people really getting fired up and then coming with more and more and more and more changes?
So I think it takes time, right?
Yeah.
You have to remember, think about what I was dealing with. If you've ever been in a relationship where somebody's broken your trust, how long does it take to repair, right? Long time sometimes, right? So I was just really on a mission of rebuilding trust and faith in our family, that we, could run this and do right by everybody. So it did just take a little bit of time. But one of the things that I've always loved to do is just write handwritten thank you notes, because you probably don't get them very often. I love it when I do. It's just a true gift. That somebody took time to write that, and I save them all. I have a book where every time I've gotten one, I've saved it. But you'll notice that in your organization, people will save them when they're from you too. So I can go in our human resources manager's office right now, and I know she's got a card sitting up on her desk that I wrote to her years ago, thanking her for whatever really incredible thing it was that she'd done. So it doesn't take much, right? I mean, I also did like little awards where the man was teetering outside the box, and it was a Think Outside the Box award. And but just that gratitude that people are helping you, that starts building on itself in an organization.
Okay, so we have Ashleigh. Oh, this is so good. So all right, we have a few comments here. So Whitney dropped, hey, this is right up Adam Baker's alley. Adam Baker is an Erie guy. Ashleigh, you and Adam.
Oh, you know Adam.
Yeah, Adam's a phenomenal dude. And now Whitney dropped the YouTube link. So again, guys, if you're having any challenges, any glitches, thank you, Whitney. She's hopped over to YouTube. And hey, this is one person that you absolutely have to connect with, Nicole Donnelly. She is absolutely phenomenal. Loving your advice that you're giving here. She is a rock star. So I'd love for Ashleigh and Nicole to connect. So you've covered a ton of things that I want to unpack here real quick. So I know from your book, one of the big strategies, you pulled in every employee to get their input to ensure quality, optimize processes, and eliminate waste. So you took a combination of your engineering degree, dad's brilliant advice. You're ripping through the financial statement, just tearing it to shreds of like, where are there challenges? Where can we turn things around? So so that's good and great. So again, like somebody out there, they're like, boy, this is music to my ears. You're giving me a process. Take us the next step. So now you ask people's advice. How did you, everybody out there, you have to buy the book. So we're not going to give any spoiler alerts from the book, but actually talk about how did you start implementing these things? How did you got the buy-in, it sounds like, by asking everybody's opinion, but how did you take it to the next level?
So the next level after I started asking those questions, those curious questions, and we started ferreting things out, was to teach others problem-solving skills, right? So you've got command and control leaders all these years telling everybody what to do, and you've just lost your problem-solving skills.
Right.
So kata was the way that we taught problem solving.
Oh, was it really your big kata?
Yes. So, and we love the lean tools, but we definitely use them differently than like Toyota does, right?
Okay.
Sometimes people get a little afraid of lean, right? Like, because you don't have to be all in at the very start, right? It's a growth. One of our board members told me one time, lean is a journey. So I just want to tell you, like, start somewhere and get your feet wet, and you don't have to be perfect out the gate.
Yeah.
And we're still learning. We're still on the journey for sure. But yeah, kata was how we taught those problem solving skills. And once again, once you get people thinking about it, and they're going through iterations and they're going through experiments, and the experiment doesn't go the way they think it's going to go, and then they're learning from their failures, right? So I always talk about we have the freedom to fail. And I'm not talking about we're not sending bad quality parts out or anything like that, but you have to allow people the psychological safety to be able to fail at something, because they're never going to get to that next level. They're never going to have that great big idea if they can't go through the process.
So, all right, oh my God, this is good. So, all right, psychological safety, we can't let that one pass by. Yeah. So that might be new, you know, I don't know, and that's not my area of expertise whatsoever, and it might be newer to some folks out there. Yeah. But again, for our crowd or for anybody out there, let's take a deeper dive. How did you create that, you know, if trust was broken, what were some of the steps that you take, you know, and I know you're sharing some of these things, but talk about how do you create a robust environment of psychological safety for your team?
So I think what it's not is berating and belittling people, right? You got to get rid of that in an organization, because now, so what we found was people were hiding their mistakes from us, even when it was something that it was like a manufacturer's defect.
Right.
You know, and we needed to be able to address it with the manufacturer, but they were hiding it from us because they didn't want to be berated or belittled.
Right.
And so when we started telling people, whoa, time out, like, let's look at this together, and then showed them it wasn't their fault, then they started to bring things to us more. And even when it was their fault, we would say, as long as they brought it to us, right? Like right away, bring it to us. We're going back out there on the shop floor with you. We want to put our eyes on it. We want to see how it happened, and we want to help you figure out how not to do it again.
Right.
It's okay. Yeah. People make mistakes. You're crazy if you think people don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Every day.
How do you work with those mistakes?
Right.
How do you make it so they don't happen again?
Right.
I always tell them, make mistakes. Just don't make the same one twice.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And you know what? And I read a fascinating article that was a game changer for me years ago. It was in the New York Times. And the title was, "It's Never the Employee's Fault." It's never the employee's fault. And this guy, it was a really fascinating, he was a great entrepreneur, and he broke it down where either something's wrong with the system or process, or maybe if the person still, you know, there was a miscommunication, or you flat out hired the wrong person, you know? So like his whole basis was, it always came back to the employer. Now, a couple of things that I want to share. Again, you guys, you have to go out and buy the book, Leading with Grit and Grace. You talk about gratitude being your guiding light. Can you just share a little bit, like as a leader of a manufacturer, why is gratitude so critical to create this wonderful environment?
So it's just about saying thank you and realizing the effort that others are putting in. And when you can tell them thank you very specifically for doing this, or because you did this, it's made this so much better. Or, you know, one of the things was we were really siloed. Nobody was talking to each other within the company, and certainly not across departments. Yeah. So even in bringing them together for a value stream mapping event and getting them to talk to each other, you find out that people aren't trying to be jerks. Right? They don't know that they're making your life harder by doing it the way that they're doing it. Right. And if you can just have that conversation,
yes,
right? Then you can say, okay, well, if you could give it to me this way, it would save me 20 minutes. And most of the time people will be like, oh, sure, absolutely. Right. Like, why didn't you say something earlier?
Right.
But just being grateful to others. Once again, being kind. One of our core values is just be kind.
Right.
Be kind. Don't assume the worst in people.
Yeah.
Right. And I have, correct me if I'm wrong, I think I have your mission statement: make things better, empower employees, happy customers, thriving communities. Yep. Do I have that correct?
You've got it.
Can you share? So, man, Janny's here today, Damon. So I want to give a shout out to Janny. Janny, you and I are connecting later today. So happy Monday to you, my friend. She's with the Midwest, the Great Lakes Tech. Talk a little bit about how I'm a huge, Damon. We're both huge mission statement guys.
Yeah.
We love mission statements. So if there's a entrepreneur out there, company that really doesn't have one aligned, or like, man, Ashleigh, I need this. Can you talk about like, how did you guys go through this process? How did you create it and make things better, empower employees, happy customers, thriving communities? Just give us the dirt behind that mission right there.
Well, it took a little while. We started out with high quality, and safety is the #1 priority and all those good things, right? And then we realized that that's not a mission. That's just expectations.
That's an expectation. That's good.
And so we talked a lot about just making things better. And I do think that that's, just general problem solving from me being an engineer. And I always talk to everybody here about, it's not just make things better at Onex, it's make things better for the customers that we're serving. We always talk about how important manufacturing is to our small towns. For every 4 jobs we create, or for every job we would create, there are 4 more created in our communities.
Right.
Yeah.
Just pick a Rust Belt town and look at when manufacturing leaves town, what happens? It's devastated, right? And so that's where Make Things Better came from, was just trying to get everybody to understand we gotta do good at home, but we have to serve our clients too, because they have a very important mission as well.
Okay, so I heard 2013, 14-ish is when this little like, hey, Ashleigh, do you want to do this part-time? Hey, run the company, right? So now, talk like 15, 16, when did you feel that you were starting to see this positive impact and starting to see things turn around? Can you walk us through that process?
Yeah, so I think, you feel like positive impact start early. But sometimes when you're trying to turn the Titanic around, it just takes a little time, right?
Right.
And for those of us out there that are overachievers and high energy, it feels like it takes even longer, right? Yeah. You get really kind of, how long could this possibly take?
Right.
But it was really, I think, 2018, by the time we were feeling good about life, Kurt.
Okay. So, man, oh my God, this is so good. So, and a couple comments here. This is Diane Byer on her daughter's account. I think everybody jumped over on YouTube. So we got, love the mission statement. Nicole is saying, mission is bigger than the organization. And such a great, so you're getting a lot of compliments here. So 2018, you're all in, you're raising 2 young children, sleeves are rolled up, you're in a new community, new town, and you're really turning the ship around. Now, what challenges, what was next for you? Like, how did you have your checklist? Okay, I've kind of turned this around. Did I walk us through, what was that process to keep growing as a leader for your end?
So my guys always say that I pulled a string on a sweater and I unraveled the whole sweater. And then I had to put it back together again. I had to reknit it. And it's so true, right? Like we were in a process of reknitting everyone back together again. We definitely had some turnover in the organization. It just, the way that we were doing it wasn't successful.
Yep.
So I had to do a lot of getting the right people in the right seats on the bus. And sometimes that was just reorging inside the organization. I really strongly believe in playing to people's strengths. So whatever their strengths are, be cognizant of the weaknesses, be self-aware. But if I tell you to go fix your weaknesses, I promise you it will be the last thing you do in a day. Like you don't do it, right? You're not interested in it. But if I let you play to your strengths, oh boy, watch out.
Right.
So getting people in the right seats, making those financial decisions. I also started what we called wildly important goals, WIGs, you'll know. So we had performance appraisals, the standard ones where you pick the goal and then you cascade it through the organization. And it was so frustrating because by the time I got them cascaded, the world had changed, especially in 2020, right?
Yeah.
So we stopped doing that. I started picking one wildly important goal and then allowing every department manager and team to pick the battle that they were going to fight that was most important in winning the war. And that calmed the organization down, that focus, that priority. If we can't get anything else done, because your days are probably 99% task oriented, right? So you can't have 25 projects that you're supposed to be doing. So just choose one. And if you can do that, then we can be hugely successful. That's one of the biggest things that we implement.
Okay. So Ashleigh, you're new here. So anybody that comes on, Damon, can you tell Ashleigh what this moment is right now?
Yeah. This is a moment of silence.
We're just savoring it's lunchtime here in the East Coast. We are savoring the brilliance that was just shared. So Damon, I don't know if it was a coincidence that Ashleigh's on our program and she's sharing wildly important goals. Does anybody know what the acronym for that is? You know, so Nicole, we're always talking about acronyms. So WIG, WIG. Does it happen like this guy here is on the program today and we were talking about WIGs? Ashleigh, so a little joke there for you. But anyway, I love what you're saying. And there's a phenomenal book called almost as good as yours. It's called Essentialism. New York Times bestselling book, Essentialism. And in that book, he shares there's no such thing as the word priorities. Like, like we changed that word. Like that word shouldn't exist. I love what you said. I'm man, it's like a masterclass. Can you go a little bit deeper?
Yeah.
You had the discipline, the self-discipline. I mean, oh my God, your leadership skills are just off the charts. So you created an environment of like focus on that one task. Can you share like how did that come on your radar? How did you, like, if other people are like, man, I want to implement that, like, share this process with us.
Well, you'll laugh. So it's like September of 2017, and it's time to start thinking about, you know, the goals and the performance reviews. And I'm just like, this is drudgery. Like, I hate it.
Yeah.
It causes so much like anxiety in the organization. For what reason? And so I calculated the ROI on it. On doing a performance appraisal, and I figured out how much it was costing the organization between my time trying to write goals, leaders' times giving out goals, everybody talking, everybody doing self-reviews. And I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, to what end? We're looking in the rearview mirror. We're not looking out the windshield. Yeah. There's nothing we can do to fix what's already been done. Right. So why aren't we focused forward? And so we started training on like this coach approach and just making sure that we were thinking about the future instead of worrying about what we didn't do right in the past.
Right. Yeah.
And so, yeah.
It's gone already.
Else has probably done an ROI on performance appraisals.
Wow. And so once again, you know, you took like if I'm understanding correctly, like maybe a sacred cow, and you're like, you know what, this is how we've always done it. But guess what? We are not doing it anymore. So guys, I know we're at top of the hour. If you're just joining us, I'd love for you to connect with Ashleigh. Drop us a note that you're here. Ashleigh, I know like you man, modest, humble, and I might make you feel a little uncomfortable. I'm going to read a couple of review comments on your book. If you haven't purchased, if you haven't read Leading with Grit and Grace, implore you, do yourself a favor, go out and get it today. It's going to be life-changing. But here's some of the reviews. A+++. A great book for leaders of any business that wants to improve company culture. Powerful read on how to inspire people along a path of change. Leading with Grit and Grace offers leadership insight from a leader still in the trenches. Terrific book, a must read, powerful, wonderful, excellent, impactful, inspirational. I can go on and on. This book is a perfect read for all women leaders. Loved it. We are all in the people business, according to Ashleigh Walters. Distinctive intrinsic. Let's see. What's he say? And I dropped this on the note earlier about intrinsic fires. It's intrinsic fire. The book Grit and Grace. And just every comment is just going on and on and on. So I want to talk about this for a second. You are a busy mom. You are a busy president of a company. You're turning the ship around. You use the word Titanic. It's not easy. When on earth did you have time to write a book, and what inspires you to even go that route?
Well, I guess thank you for COVID-19. Because otherwise it probably wouldn't have happened.
Perfect time to write a book, right? Nothing else to do.
I mean, we were on lockdown, right? Especially here in the state of Pennsylvania, we were locked down more than other states. And so like the sports were locked down, the kids were being homeschooled. You know, we were an essential business, so we were still in operation, but we weren't as busy as we had been. And so I guess no time like the present to write a book, right? I've had a few extra hours. So no, my marketing coordinator said, you need to write a book. And I said, I'm an engineer. I don't write. Like, it's not what I do. And she said, you just have to share the story. She said, what if you could help one other person? And I thought, well, if I can help one other person, then it's probably worth the effort. So what's really interesting is people, they resonate with different pieces of it. It just kind of depends upon where they are in their journey, which piece that they find is most important. So I think, it was great for me to have to sit there and like reflect. Also a thing that I don't probably do very well, but just that roadmap and that journey that we took. And yeah, just getting it out there in the world, just so if there's one golden nugget in it for somebody else, like to make that change. I just hope somebody finds it.
Well, thank you. And our friend Diane drops a nice little comment here. Focus forward. And she's with the Mid-Atlantic TAC, which she's located in Pennsylvania. So she'd be a great person to connect with, Ashleigh. Yeah. So Ashleigh, so let's go here. So you've survived, you turned a company around, you survived a global pandemic, a crisis, you've written a book. And guys, I'm telling you, you want to go out and get this book. So let's talk, we're going to talk about women in leadership. But before I dig into women in manufacturing and women in leadership, before we go there, just share just give us a little nugget of what was it like at COVID at Onex, and how did your leadership have to change, and what were some tips, advice, or what did you learn over the past 2 years?
Yeah, so I think actually we had an inside advantage as COVID happened, because we'd already lived through an internal crisis together. Yeah. And so now we were having to lead through this external crisis. Yep. And I think one of the biggest things is as a leader, sometimes you think you have to know everything, and COVID's the perfect example of not knowing anything, right? Everything was gray. Yeah. We just didn't have good information to even try to deal with. And so we just had to deal with it day by day, right, as new information was learned, right? So I gathered up the whole leadership team. We sat at the table 6 feet apart, and we said, okay, this is what we do know. What have we not thought about? Okay. And so every person at that table had a voice, and a very important voice, because they were thinking about different things, and they were thinking about them differently than I was. And when they could voice their opinion and say, we need to do this, then they also had the autonomy to go do that. They took the action to go do it. And so we just worked really well as a team. But a couple things that happened that I thought were pretty unique. Number one is I bought bracelets, silicone bracelets. They were red, yellow, and green, and you could pick a color for the day, but it gave people a visual signal as to where you were feeling. Green was give me a hug, I don't care. Red was please don't come near me. I'm terrified. And you got to choose your color, whichever day, right? Because news was coming out fast. Yeah. Things were changing. So it just gave everybody a sense of how to approach another person, where they were. Yeah. The other thing that happened was my shipping and receiving manager, he really challenged me as we went to shut down the plant. Nobody that was not supposed to be here or didn't need to be here was going to be here. And I said, including the truck drivers. And he said, but what about, he said, what about the truck drivers? And I said, no, I'm sorry, they can't come in. They just need to sit in their truck, because we're trying to contain everything, right? He said, well, they usually come in to use the facilities. And I said, well, I'm sorry, they're just going to have to go somewhere else. And he goes, Ashleigh, the governor shut the rest areas. Where do you want to go? Yeah. Right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. And so he even took it a step further. So we shut down the women's restroom in the plant because we had less women on site. We could just use the one in the offices, and we made that the truck driver's facility. But then he also put out a table with snacks and water and stuff for them because there was nowhere to eat. Everything was shut down. But as a leader, I didn't think about it, but he did. Yeah,
he did. Wow.
And he challenged me on it, which was even better, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was just going to let me be dumb, right? Not think about it.
Gosh. And what's this gentleman's name?
So it's Nate Staub.
Nate. Well, hey, kudos to Nate. Yeah. And again, as a leader, appreciate your humility of you're admitting hey, I didn't think of that. Yeah. Nate has the comfort. You've created that environment of trust where he pushes back and says, hey, Ashleigh, wait a minute. I would have never thought of that as well. And kudos to Nate to take it that step further. And what a great what a great thing about leaders, Ashleigh, is great leaders create great leaders. And that's exactly what you're doing. Our dear friend Val drops a note. She says it's a business book that's actually readable. Yeah. Too Many Double is a cure for insomnia. That is great, Val. So, hey, what a testimony that is. Again, Ashleigh, I could keep you here all day. Grit is when you think you have nothing left. Grace is the light inside. Where did that quote come from?
Yeah, grit is when you think you have nothing left, right? It's that determination, that persistence, that resilience. And as leaders, I mean, sometimes we feel like really stuck, right? It's hard. But grace is equally as important, because if you are operating with empathy and compassion for others, it doesn't matter how gritty you are.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Nobody wants to follow you if you're not being an inspirational leader. So yeah, it's tough, but and you got to take people on that journey with you. And COVID is like the perfect example of how everybody reacted differently.
Yeah.
Situation and needed something different in that moment. You know, I had double income parents. I had, you know, people taking care of elderly parents. I had you name it.
Yeah.
Everybody needed something a little bit different. So we just had to learn to be flexible and get through it together.
That is awesome. And hey, speaking of, and Adam here right in Erie loves your bracelet idea.
Yeah, it's
so
cool.
That was, I'm telling you, that was absolutely brilliant. I wish I would have thought of that one. That was a great. So Ashleigh, let's go here now. Let's slide into women in manufacturing. Again, you're, you know, president of a great manufacturing company. You've written this incredible, wonderful leadership book, which, you know, every testimonial about your book is that it's not just for manufacturers, it's anyone in a leadership position. Great job there. Talk about like your role, or like leaders, like why do we need more women leaders in manufacturing?
So I think we just need more people in manufacturing. I'll take them all. And I think most manufacturers would say the same.
Right.
So, you know, everybody knows this statistic, 50% of the US workforce is women and only 25% in manufacturing, right?
Yep.
So I think, but it's also experience and exposure.
Yeah.
Some of us just don't know that it exists, or we think that we're supposed to be in other industries that aren't, that are traditional, right? Yeah. So I think it's just having that conversation around like we belong here too. And I don't think guys don't think that we don't belong. We just don't know, right?
Right.
Sometimes. So back to experience and exposure. But I would say that also in any one that you're hiring, think about diversity and history and perspective, that it just makes for a stronger team. Right. Like, what if I didn't have a Nate Staub? Right. His perspective is different than mine. I don't need everybody to say yes to me. I need them to challenge me so that we can be better.
Right. Oh, man. All right. That's another moment that we're just going to savor for a second. Actually, that was just, you know, surround yourself with trusted advisors that are going to challenge you, just not agree with you. Again, Diane, thank you for the comments here today. Inspirational leader. People follow, don't inspire, and employees will run the other direction. Absolutely true. So, Ashleigh, what can manufacturers out there do to, you know, like you're talking to us, you have some new teammates on your team, if you want to share with everybody. Manufacturers that are out there, how can, any advice that you have on how they can help diversify their team?
Yeah. So as all this happened with COVID, like we're all looking for people, right? And even before COVID, we were all looking for people in manufacturing. Sure. So one of the first things I did was, if you know anybody that has autism, a lot of times they love repetitive tasks. So shipping and receiving is like a very repetitive task. Housekeeping, general housekeeping is very repetitive. So I have two gentlemen who work for Onex, James and Colin, and they have autism, but they have been here with us for going on almost 3 years now. And they are just incredible team members. Like they are so good at what they do, and they're learning, you know, new and different skills, and they're just filling a gap for us. We also just hired 4 Syrian refugees. They're immigrants to, you know, here in the US, and Arabic is definitely like a challenge for us. We don't know how to read or speak it, and they don't know English yet, but we're teaching them Onex English. We have an instructor that's coming 2 times a week. We're making sure that we get their OSHA training in Arabic, their native language right now. We're, you know, translating some of our forms into Arabic, but they have just been incredible additions to our team. And it's the American way though, isn't it? Like, yeah, your ancestors were immigrants at some point.
We've forgotten that. We've forgotten that. It was all people didn't know how to speak English half the time, or more than half the time. Yeah. And it's so cool to see you guys doing that.
Yeah. So it's awesome. So we have some really awesome new team members. So just trying to really think outside the box and not, you know, go to the traditional paths. And
well, this is fantastic.
We need everybody. Like you said, we need everybody in manufacturing. We can't, you can't, I mean, if you're not trying to hire anybody and everybody that has a brain and wants to do it, you're just missing out.
Well, and I think, you know, the thing that you and I love to preach, Damon, is, well, actually, I don't know, like all the cool kids are going into manufacturing these days, you know, used to be, you know, tech and everything. Now all the cool kids are going into manufacturing. So, I mean, unfortunately, there was a big trend of, you know, great, you know, especially here, like you've described, like the Great Lakes, Rust Belt, you know, great manufacturing for decades, you know, century. And, you know, it became like, hey, well, grandpa, you know, took things to a higher level and created a middle class and created opportunities. Then the kids went off to college. And unfortunately, we got away from, well, hey, don't go into, you know, don't follow grandpa's shoes. Don't go into manufacturing. There are amazing, incredible, wonderful opportunities in manufacturing, from automation, robotics, HR, e-commerce, digital marketing, engineering, all of the above. So there are great opportunities financially, and you can accidentally become a president of a company like this. So, all right, so I want to be mindful of your time. You're running this great manufacturer. I know we could keep you here all day. Guys, I dropped Ashleigh's book again in the chat box here, and it looks like I dropped it over on YouTube this time. So please, please, please do yourself a favor. Great Christmas holidays are around the corner. You know, it could be a good Halloween gift, as a matter of fact. Grab that book, hand it out to the kids for Halloween, throw it in people's stock. It's a great stocking stuffer for those of you who celebrate Christmas. So again, you want to do yourself a favor, get that book. If you are trying to lead the charge in your world, or you know folks that are trying to improve their leadership game, grab this book. Ashleigh, this was just a total masterclass. So first off, thank you.
Yeah.
As we wind things down, I love what you said about, hey, let's stop looking in the rearview mirror, look in the windshield. What's out ahead for you? What's ahead for Onex? What are you looking forward to in fourth quarter 2023? What's on the horizon for you?
Yeah, so I think we're like most manufacturers, we're just as busy can be. Like the manufacturing renaissance in America couldn't make me happier. It comes with its own challenges, but it's so cool to see things being manufactured in the US for sure. You know, one thing we didn't talk about was Drew and I purchased the business and became second generation owners in 2018, but we have gone on to sell the business, and it is now 100% employee owned. So there's just amazing things ahead for our team. I mean, to come from where we were to being, you know, employee owned, it's just a testament to all their hard work. And they're their own entrepreneurs now.
That is amazing, guys. And so what an inspiration. And again, how about the kids? Do they look up to mom and being a president? How do the kids feel about if we had them on the show? What do they say about mom being a president of a company?
You know, so I think because of their experience and exposure, they think probably every mom is the president of a company.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome.
But yeah, they definitely like are proud of us, and they come to work and see what we do. We make sure that we show them how cool it is. I have their friends come into work and participate in manufacturing activities. We've brought in the whole fourth grade to tour the plant, and it was their best field trip of the year. So, you know, I hate that we got away from those family days in the manufacturing plants, because I get it for safety concerns and whatever, but it really, really is important if we want to recruit these kids back to manufacturing.
Absolutely. So, okay, guys. Diane, again, thank you for all the comments today. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Inspiration, exclamation point. So, guys, if you're still out there, we're going to wrap up. Drop us a note. Drop Ashleigh a connection request on LinkedIn. She'd love to hear from you. Again, grab that book. Do yourself a favor. So, Ashleigh, thank you. Thank you for everything. You are such a blessing to the manufacturing community. You're an inspiration to us girl dads. You're an inspiration to our girls, our women, and just all manufacturers and leaders. And so, again, everybody out there, please, big round of applause for Ashleigh Walters today. Get up and stand up and give her a round. Ashleigh, thank you for everything. We appreciate you. You and I, man, we're so close. Damon, we're like 40 minutes apart. We're going to get together and geek out sometime. As a matter of fact, Ashleigh, we should do a LinkedIn Live together. I'd love to come out to your facility, and we'll make that happen here soon. So, Damon, any parting thoughts on this week of manufacturing month? Any parting thoughts today?
No, it's where the cool kids are at, like you said. That's all we got to do. We got to get more people involved, and as Ashleigh said, everyone.
Get everyone involved. Ashleigh, any last parting words of wisdom for our folks out there? Any last words of inspiration that you want to share?
So what I would share is doing book clubs has been super fun for me. So if you do buy books for the team and would like me to pop on or come see you, I would love to do that. Just get to meet more people in the industry.
Absolutely. So guys, thank you so much. Have an amazing, incredible week. We have another author on Friday. We have Kathy Miller, Stilettos and Steel Clothes. Yeah. So we're on the Women in Manufacturing Week this week. And so we're blessed with two great authors who are just leading the charge in manufacturing. So guys, we're going to close it out. And Damon, as we'd like to close it out, what is our tagline? Be someone's inspiration. Boy, if you weren't inspired today with Ashleigh, man, we need to check your pulse. But boy, just be someone's inspiration. We don't care who it is. Just be an inspiration to someone out there today in your world. And hey, we will see you soon. Ashleigh, hang on 1 second. We're going to close out our program and we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everyone.